Anyway, my son had a cool experience last week, and he came downstairs crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Mom, I was reading all the comments on YouTube about children whose parents don't treat them well. One kid is getting beat up, and one kid is hurt another way, and they're sad and they want to run away, and they can't wait to get away from their house, and they hate their parents." And he's crying. He said, "How sad is that?" He said, "How lucky am I that I have you? I love you so much." And he's having a pure epiphany moment where he's read the comments of other teenage boys, and he's seeing truth. See how lucky I am? You may have a lot more video games than me, but your mom tells you you're no good. Because as parents, we tend to buy things after we've been mean. The inside of you knows, I just treated my child bad. And instead of going and say, "I'm so sorry. I missed a moment to be kind. I missed a moment to teach you. I missed a moment to be loving. I'm sorry." We go out and buy a video game. Because inside you deeply want to change that. But a video game is what's wrong. We keep trying to buy things to make things better. The emptiness that lives inside of humanity cannot be filled with things. It cannot be filled with other people. It cannot be filled with what we do. It has to come from a deep place of knowing how worthy you are, how important to the divine you are. For one moment in time, God thought of nothing but you. And you were created. And then you decided to come here and have an experience because you wanted to share back with God. You wanted to come here and learn all you could learn, even though it's painful. The separation from that source is painful. So you kind of sacrifice something in order to come. God appreciates it, and you need to appreciate it. And all these things are just words. We have to practice them. So many of us are talking the talk. So few of us are walking the walk. I went out with a woman the other day. She's a church woman. She's very sweet, and she's very gracious, and she's yelling about this man. I'm not inviting him to something. And I was like, "Why not?" "Well, he treated me bad." I said, "Yeah, but that's the exact time you invite him. That's the exact time that you extend the invitation to say, I see you in your true form, and I'm not going to allow what your human's doing to influence how much I love you." Now, there's lots of crummy humans. And when you acknowledge a crummy human, you can love the being inside and say, "I see you there, and I'm sorry you're trapped in that crummy human, but I don't want to hang out with you. You need to be over there somewhere." But don't leave them until you drop your nugget. Don't leave them until you drop your seed. So if somebody's been cruel, turn around and be kind, drop your seed, and say, as you walk away, "I wish you love and happiness." Walk away. You don't have to hang out with them. You don't have to expose yourself to whatever somebody's throwing at you. But in your grace, you just lifted your own field. And you residually lifted his field, or her field. So it's very important that we practice this minute by minute, because sometimes that's all you can handle is a minute. And when you're driving down the road, somebody cuts you off and you go to, you stop and you go, "Oh, wait now. I send you love. I send you love. I send you love." Changes everything. You don't end up at home yelling at your kids because of the guy that almost ran you over, which is so classic. Something happens over here, we bring it home. Something happens at work, the husband comes home and yells at the wife. It's like, "Hello, I didn't do anything to you." But it's the way we work. We collect it somewhere else, and then we come home and give it to those we love the most. Again, if you find yourself doing that, find a moment to apologize. Look, I wasn't thinking clearly. That's not what I wanted to say. I really wanted to say this. So one of the things that I've done is I started making pacts with the people I love. If I make a mistake, please allow me to say sorry. Please allow me to practice being spiritual. Please allow me to practice being in the soul form. And I say the soul form because so many people say, I was telling John this today, so many people say, oh, my soul, my soul. And I said, you think you own that soul, do you? It's the other way around. Practice saying, my human. Start living from the place of soul. Human's not real. I mean, it's real while we're here, but it's not the real. So practice living from place of soul. When you get up in the morning, say, I'm going to live from place of soul today. So when my human does something crummy, I'm going to acknowledge that my human's doing something crummy. And I gotta look at that and adjust it and say something nice so that I can balance it. But you don't own your soul. The soul owns you. It created everything about you. You have any handicaps, you have any extra weight, you have any problems with your body, you and your soul are working that out. You don't have to have it. Once you start to understand that you're a soul being, you can start to manifest the things that you want. But you really, really gotta believe it. You gotta believe it. Miracles happen every single day. They told me it was time to write the Third Testament. They said, if you want to follow the Bible, well then put in the new stuff. Miracles are happening every day, but because we no longer live in the time of Jesus, we kind of accept the fact that we're not entitled to write down the miracles and tell each other about them. I mean, how many miracles happen? We don't see them on Oprah. Well, actually, Oprah does do something. But we don't see them on the news. We don't see them anywhere. And I met a really incredible man, Giancarlo Melchizedek, and he told me that he went into the jungle to meet this young boy who was regrowing a limb. And he was fascinated because he's a scientist. But he's a spiritualist also. And he went into the jungle to meet this young boy who was growing a new limb. And he goes, oh, I see you're growing a new, I don't know if it was his arm, but, you're growing a new arm. And he goes, oh, yeah. And he goes, so how'd you know you could do that? How'd you figure that out? And he said, well, the geckos do it. He lives in a place of isolation. Nobody told him he couldn't. Do you see how powerful we are? Because nobody told him he couldn't. He was doing it. So what happens between our birth and 5 to 7 years old? We're getting the rules of being human. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Can't do that. And the kid who's really a soul being goes, I was sure I could do that. Okay, I guess I can't. So the child grows up, and by the time it hits, 5, 6, 7 years old, it's now fully in the human with the forgetter on, and it goes, I can't do that. But if the little child comes to you and says, I'm going to do this, you go, right on, good for you. Don't tell our children they can't do stuff. They already know they can. Okay, that's it. I don't know how long you guys want to stay, and I can talk forever. So. I had a lot of problems with the word God. Coming from my background, God was always filled with guilt and shame and punishment. I didn't understand that because it certainly didn't go with what these beings were teaching me. And so I didn't like the word God, and I wouldn't even say it. And so I asked them one time, what other word could I use? And they said, the brilliant infinity. You are a cell of light from a pool of light called the brilliant infinity. And they said, do you want to see how much a piece of that you are? And I said, yeah, okay. So I had an out-of-body experience, and I was taken out of my body, and I was going out through the cosmos, and I could see the stars, but I was going in such a manner that I couldn't tell if I was going in or going out. But I decided, okay, I'm going out, because I could see stars. And I went out and out and out and out, as far as you can go past the bliss plane into the God source plane. And while I'm out there, everything, wherever there was not something else, was this iridescent pink plasma. And it had a breath. And it was like, and it had this beautiful rhythm. It's the rhythm of the universe. It was the breath of God. And I said, wow. And it had little crackly iridescence moving through the plasma field. And they said, this is the source from whence you come. God is neither male or female. It's actually an it. So, but we always feel a great sense of irreverence to say it. So we've given it the classification of he, mostly. But this pink plasma was so beautiful, and I saw a hand come into the field of vision, and it grabbed a piece of the plasma, and it pulled it through the stratosphere and the cosmos and the atmospheres, and it put it in the head of a human. And the hand came in and grabbed another pit, and pulled and pulled and pulled and put it in the head of another human, and another one, and another one. And when we backed off so that I could see the planet Earth, there were 6 billion pink threads, all moving into the planet. Us, it's us. We're such a piece of God that the thread is not broken. We're connected. Now, it didn't actually go in the head. I mean, that was a visual experience. But what they said was it comes out of the solar plexus. And when you're in the meanness of your humanity, it's a thread. It's the tightest thread. It's tiny. And when you practice gratitude and love and sharing, and you're in that high frequency place, this thread opens and opens and opens and becomes a huge golden cord. And it's connected to you, and it's connected to God. It's the umbilical cord of your system hooking you up to the God essence. And every one of us has one of these threads. We're not separate at all. It's just whether or not, if you were trying to send information along a thread, well, that's slow. You know, think about the computer system. You know, if you've got a bad cord, you can't send the information back and forth quickly. But if you practice enlarging this, and if you practice making this whole and full and rich, well, you got yourself a mother cable. And the energy is going to flow back and forth really fast. So, you know, you have to constantly be kind with yourself and say, I'm building my cord. Everything I do, I'm building my cord. The kinder you are, the nicer you are, you give somebody a break in traffic. It's one place you can apply it every single day. My kid says, Mom, you let everybody in the traffic. I said, because it's the best place for me to practice kindness, because I don't know if the guy's a good human or a bad human, so I could be in pure gratitude and say, there you go. Because you don't have to experience them one-on-one. So it's a great place to practice, you know, because you just don't know who you're letting in. And they don't treat you mean, and it's all a nice, positive experience. So, you know, the more we practice the random acts of kindness, saying something nice to the corner store girl, you know, giving somebody a gift unexpectedly, dropping something in a mailbox, anything that you can do that shares joy with somebody else and they open it and have a moment, ping, 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 ping. And that's what we want to do, ping. And when I saw Fire the Grid happening, and they showed it to me in the, because I see visions, they're like YouTube visions. It's like watch a little YouTube thing. And I came back and I panned back from the earth when we were firing the grid, and you could see the lights going ping, 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 and it just lit up. So, you know, I estimate 26 million people. Who knows? We could have had 40 million people. I know that if you go on, I don't know if it's on my site, Princeton got involved. They measured the energy that day. It's online. You can go and look. They don't understand what happened, and they don't give a real, you know, this is what we think happened. But Princeton says the energy shifted and never changed. It never went back. So something changed, the little needle changed, but it never went back. And the other person who got involved was Emoto. Emoto sent me a crystal. He put Fire the Grid on a bottle of water. And then he froze it and looked at the crystal that was formed. And it had 6 little hexagons in it and a little tiny sun in the middle. And I think that's on the site, you can see that. And basically Emoto said, it can't be negative.